Open your mind.
Hey out there, this is Buzz with TheSurvivalBuzz. I haven't been on here in about a week. Been trying to get my baby steps in, get all my prepping done before winter, get all my to-dos done. Been kind of beefing up on the food preps lately and working a lot. So just trying to get ahead of the game before the winter weather comes in. So I haven't been on here making a lot of videos. But anyway, I was perusing around on the good old World EF website, you know, the W Economic F website. Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to disguise things a little bit for the algorithms. They seem to not like when we talk about that sort of thing. But anyways, I was on their website today and I found this article rather interesting. It's a few years old. It's from 2020. And, you know, we've heard recently in the last few years, lots of talks, Klaus Schwab and different people saying, you know, the future of meat is us eating insects basically to help greenhouse emissions and everything else, that you're going to eat bugs and like it. But up till now, before I started looking around today, I hadn't really no idea about what's going on in this article, which is basically they're talking about feeding plastics to insects now. So anyways, on to the article. The headline is Norbit Upcycling Plastic Waste into Healthy Food Solutions. So Norbit has developed a disruptive approach towards end-of-life polymeric materials for which there is no viable reuse or recycling solutions. And I tried to research polymeric materials the best I could. It's basically plastic, and end-of-life ones are either ones that cannot be recycled or they've already been recycled and can't be recycled anymore. From my understanding, you pretty much need a degree to understand any more than that. And it says, the developed scalable process enables the insects to digest and transform plastics into proteins, lipids, and biofertilizers. Instead of disposal or incineration, the conventional end-of-life scenario in a linear plastic value chain, Norbit develops the technological and commercial foundations to allow residual polymeric materials, aka packaging, textile, furniture, to be utilized as a food source for the G. melanella, the insect. As the larvae of the insects are refined for multiple high-value products aimed to food and feed and organic farming applications. Plastic and farming, okay? The utilization of plastic waste is the way gives it the opportunity to re-enter the economy. The insect's transformation capabilities mean the elimination of residual products in the plastic industry through their conversion into material for another value, creating one industrial synopsis. So I don't know if you caught that in there, but they weren't just talking about feed and stuff. They were talking about food. And then I found this other article. It's from the Washington Post just a few days ago. Let's see, when was this? November 13th. And it's talking about, it says, why companies are racing to build the world's biggest bug farm. I'm not going to read this whole article. It's very lengthy. If you want to read it, you can look it up. It's, like I said, posted a few days ago. But it says the world's largest insect farm, a high-tech facility that sprawls across 35,000 square meters and will produce 15,000 metric tons of protein fly larvae each year, open in April in France this year. If all goes as planned, it will upstage in December by a 45,000 square meter farm outside of Amiens, capable of producing over 100,000 metric tons of mealworms per year. So it's just getting bigger and bigger as the years go by. That record stands to be tied or broken by at least two more fly hatcheries slated to open in 2024 and 2025 both. The race is on to build the world's biggest bug farm. Drive to cut greenhouse emissions from animal feed has spawned a new industry, flush with venture capital that promises to one day produce vast amounts of protein with fewer greenhouse emissions than traditional suppliers. And this article is rather lengthy. It talks about crickets, mealworms, fly larvae, and they're all produced in this temperature controlled environment. And this article doesn't mention food, at least for human beings, but it does talk about making nutrient-rich oils for pets, fish, and livestock. They process the insect feces into fertilizer and their bodies into protein. But this article goes on to talk about basically how they can use these insects to help the feed industry, or help produce feed for these livestock that we're eating. It doesn't really mention human consumption in this article, but like I said, in the World EF one, it does talk about that. And then one other small bit of this article I'd like to read says, some of the wind beneath the insect industry's wings has come from big agriculture. Last month, Tyson Foods invested in Protix, a Dutch startup that raises black soldier fly larvae. These bugs are favored by farmers because they eat almost anything and grow quickly. Food processing giant ADM signed a similar deal in 2020 with another soldier fly startup called InnovaFeed based in Paris. Tyson and ADM each bought a stake in their partner company and announced plans to help them build large new farms in the United States. So this is going on all across the world. And to my knowledge, I heard something like 2 billion people in the world already eat insects. I prefer not to be part of that population, as I would assume most of you out there wouldn't want to be part of that population either. But this is the road we're headed down. And then now with that article I read about introducing plastics into feeding these insects, from what I understand, they force feed them plastics. I don't know if that's all they consume, but a vast amount of their diet is plastics. Like I said, you need a degree to even understand most of this stuff. From what I gather, what they're saying is that the digestion of plastics by the insects has no effect whatsoever on the actual insect. But there again, we're using their feces for gardening and everything else. So it really goes into question, like, it's bad enough that they want us to eat insects. We will eat the bugs, it's bad enough that they want us to do that. But now, come to find out, they're going to be feeding these insects plastic waste. And it seems like better in their favor, honestly, because you're raising insects in a facility that costs way less to produce this stuff than any livestock facility out there. Not to mention you're feeding them waste. You're feeding them plastic. And they said it's not harmful, but there again, I'd rather not consume something that's consumed plastic, and if it's making my animal feed that has plastic in it as well, then I'm consuming that. It's just funny how all these new startups and things happen. They demand that we take the they demand that we eat these bugs and things, and all the time there's no adverse effects. It won't harm you in any way, right? That's all you read and hear. But till I see some long-term effects of this stuff, I'm not going to be very optimistic about it, honestly. And I refuse to eat bugs. I absolutely refuse it. That's why I got chickens running around the yard. That's why I got stock up on canned meats and things. If it does come down to the apocalypse, I'm going to be eating a lot of chicken. But in my mind, chicken's way better than eating bugs. So prep those proteins back, because insects is not what is for dinner here. God bless y'all, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.